Welcome, everybody. We are back in the Leadership Lounge where we embark on a journey for better leadership. It is not about arrival, there is no destination. It is just the evolution of you as a leader being better for the people that we serve and for that shared mission that we're trying to get to. Today, we have back in the house Meiyoko Taylor. If you missed part one, all of his information is in part one. But say hello to everyone, Meiyoko.
What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Good to be back once again.
And everyone so excited to have him talk about now the doing and the being. Part one
Yes.
was about being before doing. And now we get to the part where everybody wants to get to first, which is doing. But we're still going to focus on the being inside of the doing. So when we left off, you let us know that emotions are indicators, right?
Yes.
Emotions you said, are navigators. But
Right.
you left us with something that was so profound for me, that we have been trapped.
Hmm.
You talked a little bit about how we are trapped in this cycle of, right, what's important to everyone else except for us, that
Right.
it doesn't allow us to kind of show up. So I want you to start us off with how that trap
Hmm.
impacts performance.
Good.
Because
You're
people
reading my
think
mind.
that I'm a better performer
Right.
if I have that stuff, right? So can you let us know how that gets in the way?
Right. So let's start off with sales. Everybody wants to make more money and grow their
Everybody do.
business and improve their sales teams. All right. So if you haven't watched the last one, please watch the last one because we're gonna segue right into this. So lastly, in the first meeting, we talked about, you suppressing what's really important to you, right? So when you suppress everything that's important to you, you ignore those things and you start looking at everything else that everyone else is saying, the opinions of everybody else, and you start performing in that regard, suppressing what's important to you. What that teaches you is that your emotions don't matter, right? How
Mhm.
you feel is not as important. And so this is the mindset that you're having on a day-to-day basis. You're going to see why I'm saying this. So, fast forward, you get on a sales call or your sales team gets on a sales call and you're talking to a potential prospect or you're talking to a team member and you want them to kind of do particular things. Now, I'm going to ask a question for all of you listening, CEOs, teams, whatever position you stand in. If your mindset is, I'm suppressing what's important and my emotions don't really matter, what type of energy do you think you're going to translate to your prospect or to your team member? Do you think that you're going to be able to listen with empathy,
Mm.
really consider how they feel, or even have the tools to actually help them process their emotions so where they could be more effective at not only just at work in the workplace, this is something or a skill they can carry right into their home? Answer probably is no. And this is what we're talking about emotional performance, right? When you learn how to prioritize what's important to you, to be centered, to understand emotions, to better utilize them and behave and act in a way which is the most highest resourcefulness that you can possibly have. When you can do that, that practice, that skill set translates from yourself to other people. So if I'm talking to a potential client, and it's a sales client, I'm able to empathize with them. I'm able to create a safe space. And I'm going to say that a lot in this segment.
Mm.
Create a
Okay.
safe space where they're able to express themselves, talk about their problem in a way where that trust is built, that trust is established. So I can do my job and better help them and see if this is going to be a good fit. My product, my service is going to be a good fit for them, right? But it doesn't happen. Nobody buys. And I really want this because I know you're going to have salespeople that are going to listen to this. Nobody buys and stays if they don't feel safe. If you're in
That's true.
sales, we have something called buyer's remorse, right? You may have bought a product before, right? You buy it and it's just like, man, you were excited to buy it. But then maybe a day later, maybe 20 minutes later, you're like, man, I shouldn't have bought this. I'm taking this back. It's the same thing. So when you're dealing with sales and when you have these high turnover, because we talked about retention in the first one. Now we're
Mhm.
talking about turnover, sales turnover, when you got to they're giving a product back. So now you have like that in the arrears now. The reason why a lot of that stuff happens is because the client doesn't feel safe. They don't feel safe with their buying decision. They didn't feel safe enough with you. You used high pressure tactics, buy, things like that. And what happens is once they get rid of you, now it's just like, I really didn't want that. I don't want, I'm going to take it back. So for those of you in sales, I'm giving you a nugget on how to avoid that. Your prospect has to feel safe. Your spouse has to feel safe. Your team has to feel safe. You have to feel safe. Lack of safety means lack of clarity because they're not going to tell you exactly what the problem is and what they need. So you can't really help them. So if that safety's not there, you can forget it. Safety has to come first. Once the safety is there, now you can determine exactly what you need to do as a leader to help their performance, right? This is why
And I really
oftentimes I was gonna say, this is why oftentimes why you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't feel safe, and I just I didn't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe. I just didn't really trust them. I don't feel safe. I don't really it's just something didn't resonate with me. I don't feel safe." That's what they're saying. I don't feel safe. So we're gonna talk a lot about safety in this one because I want people to really get the simplicity of this, but it's very powerful.
because I really appreciate your framing. As I often say, it's really about how people experience you
Right.
as a leader.
Right.
Is just what you're doing, it's how people are experiencing you, and
Right.
I'm hearing that in what you're saying, and what I'm really wanna lift for folks is that this is a direct correlation to results-driven individuals, right? You
Correct.
want a result. This helps you, this doesn't get in the way, right? This helps
Right.
you get to that result because you're really being keen on what it is that the person needs to feel safe, thus do
Right.
their best work,
Right.
thus the purchase, thus make the
Right.
collaboration. So I really appreciate that. And I know you have emotional performance indicators, which I thought was so dope. Is safety one of them?
Yes. How safe do you feel with you and your own emotions versus how safe does somebody feel around you? What type
Mm,
of energy are you bringing for? Are you creating a space for safety? Because safety, first comes safety, then confidence comes. If you
yeah.
create a safe space for someone, now they're confident. So let me back up. Safety comes first, confidence comes second, and then they start to trust you, right?
Mm,
They start to trust. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm trusting this person a little bit. Then you start to get the support. Then now once you get to the buying, where you're asking them to enroll, now it's just like, listen, I'm safe. I've expressed myself. I feel connected. I'm confident. I actually trust you. I relate to you. I resonate with you. Okay. All right. So where do I sign?
mm,
And it's the same thing with every relationship. You have to
yeah.
create a safe space for people. Now, the problem is, and I have to talk about this too in performance, some of us know how to create a safe space, but some of us create a safe space for the wrong reasons.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, the reason why I say that is because some are good at creating a safe space, but they are not safe themselves and they haven't created that relationship with themselves. So they create a safe space. People open up. Now, let's give an example of a leader, right? Very, very good talker, knows how to create a safe space for his team, but he or she doesn't walk the talk. They can inspire them and connect them, make them feel safe, but they're doing something else. So that confidence isn't there. The trust isn't there. So therefore, now they have a team where it's just like, well, they set a good game. It was good. We were able to express ourselves, but it doesn't really seem like they're practicing what they're preaching.
Right? It's not translating.
Right. It's not translating. So it's like there was no demonstration of it. So it's just like, and then you're not relating to them. You created a safe space for them to open up, but now you're not, based on your actions, you're not really following up on the safety that you created. You just stay right there.
Well, that's
And
good.
this starts
Following
with
up on the safety that you created.
correct.
That's good.
That safety has to be nurtured. Is it not in personal, even professional relationships? The moment somebody doesn't feel safe, there's a decline there
There is.
because
Yep.
safety has to be nurtured. It has to be nurtured. You just can't make someone feel safe and you're not nurtured. Look at any professional, successful business, right? Where somebody purchases a product. Do they not follow up? Do they not ask, "Hey, how do you enjoy the product? What's the best thing you
Right.
enjoyed about it?" We love a survey so we can make our product better. We're in this relationship. We're in this business, right? Let's do a checkup. How can we make this better? That's creating more safety for someone.
So I have an opposing view, right?
Good.
My
Good.
personal
Bring it on.
opposing view.
Good. Uh-huh.
So what do you say to the leaders who may be listening and say, "I get results without doing all of that." Right? I like the fact that or because they may lead from more fear-based, and they find people like, people need tough love. People need a fire under them, right?
Right.
That motivates my people. They get to work and they get to work quick. And I don't even gotta do all the stuff you talking about. What do you say to that leader in terms of performance? Because I'm already good.
First of all, I'm going to ask them two questions. What is your definition of good and results, for one? What is your definition of that? And two, the results that you're getting, if you were to leave the scene for the company or whatever it is, would you still be getting those same results if you just you took a leave of absence, 2 months, 3 months, would you still get the same level of results? And then I would ask them, is your team getting you results based on drive, based on community, based on fulfillment, or are they getting you results based on fear? Those are the questions I would ask that person. And we would probably have a very interesting dialogue. And I think
Sure.
the question that would probably really make them think is if you took a vacation and said, guys, I'll be back. I want you to continue as normal. Would you get the same results or would your results decline? I've found that most leaders think they're getting great results, but because they lead the way they do and they don't establish emotional performance, the results that they could achieve based on the results that they're getting is night and day.
I love that, and I also love this is his practice, y'all. I love that he poses a question, right? He's not here to just put the
Always,
view out, and I think that's such a good
always,
practice in leadership in
always.
general. So as you're listening, I just wanna stamp the art of asking questions and how that helps
Right.
somebody arrive versus us pushing something down right their throat. Because like he said, what he's bringing up here is we're talking about sustainability, right? You being able to continue this practice outside of the leader. So if the leader's not there, can this thing sustain? Same thing when
Right.
we're trying to get folks to understand and learn something new, the art of asking questions helps that to be more sustainable because it's outside of right. You don't need to be there anymore because they can sit and reflect on that question. So I just
Right.
wanted to stamp that that practice that he's using is an established best practice on how to move people forward, the art of asking questions.
And one thing I want to point out, one of the things I'll always, if you notice that, maybe you notice it, you may have not noticed it. One of the things that I always do is I always want the perception of the person I'm talking to. And then I want to see if that perception is based on something that is truly them or is it based on something else? That's why I said, what is your definition of results? Most people will tell me, oh, you know what? We made this amount of money and it's great. Okay. All right, cool. Is that the only result you're looking for? And then it makes them think, so that it can be a loaded question. So it's about your perspective on a particular thing and where that perspective came from. I always go with that. So I'm glad you noticed that because I'm always asking questions. I
Yeah.
have to ask questions.
And I just want to just lift something that we talked about earlier, which was when we started the episode, that trap, right?
Hmm.
And I just want to illuminate here that what we're talking about during both of these episodes is freedom, liberation from that trap.
Right.
So that we can, like, can you just imagine how well you can perform when you're utilizing all of these things that you didn't think were useful, right? When that's
Right.
extra fuel, think about actual garbage, all of the things that we throw out. If we were able to use all of that for
Mhm.
fuel in our car,
Great
right?
analogy.
Now it's limitless, right? I don't have when you so there's just so much untapped fuel that we're able to use that now, right? We're opening, there's an open invitation to these things that we threw away can now be useful to us. I
Right.
just love that idea.
Right.
I love that idea.
This just came to my mind, and I feel like it's something I have to say. You really want to get down to the truth of how your team feels, how you feel. There's only two ways the truth really comes out. All right. Two ways. I want everyone to pay attention. Two ways. Either when someone feels very safe or they feel very suffocated. And I'm going to explain the two. When, let's say, you're leading at work with your team, they're bombarded with work. You don't care about anything going on. They're staying over, they're doing all this overtime. They are absolutely burnt out at work. They got things going on in their personal life. What eventually happens is they're going to explode at some point. They're either
Mhm.
going to tell another coworker or they may actually tell you. Either way, it's not going to be good or they're going to explode at home. Either way, it's going to get
Mhm.
back to you eventually. Either way, because they felt so suffocated. What's important to them is not being put in the forefront. They feel like they're not being heard by leadership, right? And they are constantly being bombarded with work, 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 work. They're suffocated, so that rises to the surface. Or you make them feel safe. You create a culture, right? A culture of unity, and it's just like, listen, anything you all are feeling that's for the betterment of the team and or anything I can do to help enhance your experience here or even like to develop skills that not only that value you in the workplace but at home. let me know. You create this safe space. Now people are being more truthful. Well, you know what?
Mm.
This is how I felt about this particular thing since you asked. And then you value the feedback or the criticism, and then you work as a collective to improve things. It's only two ways. It's no gray areas. It's when somebody feels very suffocated, when they're pushed against the wall, or when they feel very safe. You're going to get the truth at some point. But that's what you want. You want the truth. You don't want the other end, though. You don't want the other end.
'Cause there's so much repair that has to be done by the time it gets to
Right.
that point, and if it
Right.
gets to that point, then you probably are not the type of leader to initiate repair, right? So now there's just real damage being done without repair.
Right. Right.
Somebody asked me a question about one of my other podcasts. I'm gonna share what I answered, and then I wanna invite you into the question to see if you had a different viewpoint.
Okay.
So somebody posed a question to me and they were like, I'm really learning a lot from the content that you put out. But my
Mhm.
struggle is that because this person leads teams, but then
Okay.
they have a leader, right? They have a
Okay.
leader who actively does not practice this and they don't really understand, right? They're like, my job would be better if my leader started to do some of this stuff, right?
Okay.
And my response, as it typically is, was focusing on oneself, right?
Okay.
The role that they play specifically in that, which I know sometimes may feel dismissive. So I do
Uh-huh.
want to invite you into that same question that I was given because I said, because you can't control anybody else. You
Right.
can only
True.
control you. So we
True.
started to talk about their role in it. But I want to know, do you have another opinion or something else to offer somebody that may feel a little bit more hopeful than what I offered?
Well, I mean, my question would be is the relationship you have with this particular leader, because let me make sure I understand. Is somebody in leadership that has somebody in leadership over them, right?
Mm.
Now, the first thing I'm asking, what's the relationship between you and that particular leader? Like what's their personality type? Are they open? Is it somebody that's just unknowingly like ignorant of, or just they just don't understand the concept of emotional intelligence? Is this somebody that's open to learning? Because that also plays a big part too. And I would still go back to what you said. Focus on yourself. Develop these things for yourself, because what happens in a culture sometimes when you start to perform well, you start to influence other aspects of the team community. So now the boss that's over you is just like, hey, wait a second, something's going on here. So how did you do that? How did you manage to do this well? And it's just like, hey, well, this is what I've been practicing. Okay, cool. We need a little bit more of that. So how do we get more of this? All right. Dr. Shanesia or Meiyoko, they do this stuff. This is who I'm learning from. All right, cool. Let's bring them in because this is working and I want to learn more about it. So sometimes it's your example, even the people that are in leadership and levels above you, it benefits them positively. So no, I would have told her the same thing, but I would have also probably asked her like, so what's the leader like?
We did engage in like further dialogue about it.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think the perception of the leader that is the right top decision maker is that that person portrays that they're open, right?
Okay.
Actively says
I
that
see. I
they
see.
actively say that they want feedback. However, what their team experiencing is the opposite of that.
All right.
So if
So
he
But then I would ask, well, I probably wouldn't ask her. I would love to talk to the leader, because the leader, obviously, doing this for so many years, I already see the leader doesn't feel safe.
Mhm.
That leader does not feel safe with his team or her team. So the question is why do they not feel safe? And it could be team related or it could be them related. There's a problem there. There's a problem there.
I
There's a
love the
problem. There's a
empathy that you
perception there
offered.
that this right. It's either something that they're doing, they feel like it doesn't work, versus what they're already doing is more effective. So they're
Mhm.
closed to it. So I would love to see why that particular leader doesn't feel safe enough or open enough to say, hey, you know what? We're all a team. This is for the betterment of the team. Let's hear you out. Let's see what you're talking about here. Instead of just saying,
Yeah,
no, this is my way and this is the way it's going to be. And so if she's telling me, or she was telling you that they portray to be open, that lets me know that maybe when they say it, they're open, and maybe they genuinely mean it, but behavioral wise, there's
mhm,
something
mhm.
there that is causing them to act differently. So we need to get down to the bottom of why that is.
Well, that's good. I like that point, and I think that that's a good way to kinda start to wrap us up, is because I'm hearing you're saying that there is right, there's this intention, and then
Yes,
there's
intention.
our
Yeah.
behavior practice, right?
Right.
And then there's what we actually practice in behavior.
Right.
I think that that's a way for you to kinda sum up the doing in the being.
Right. Okay, great. Because I love how you segue that. This is why I love conversations with her, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so you can't just have the intention without the implementation. Once you have the intention to do and you understand, now you have to implement. So in this particular person's case, it sounds like the leader has an intention and an intent, but the implementation is there. It isn't there. Now, for one of two reasons, maybe he or she doesn't know how to implement it, or they're just not comfortable with what it takes to implement.
Well,
And then
that's
that's a problem. And then that's a problem. But the intent obviously is there because they're saying, "Okay, that sounds good. Maybe I don't know how to implement it though." Or I'm just not comfortable with what it takes to do that. Yeah. But it sounds good. Feels good. But yeah, I'm just not comfortable with that. So there's a
and some
mismatch there. It's like you're talking.
yeah, and I think that some people what I've seen also is that we a third category of people are the people who feel as though they've arrived, right? And that's why I'm always
Uh-huh.
reminding that there's no arrival, right? So there might be somebody who thinks that I do that, right? Like I really
That's
I
the
know how to
ego. You were talking about that.
yeah.
Here comes the ego. Driving in. Here comes the ego landing.
Yeah. But like James Baldwin said, I don't know the exact quote, so if you look it up and it's not this exact quote, I'm not trying to disrespect the James Baldwin. But James Baldwin says something like this, right? I don't have to hear what you say because I watch what you do. So in
Ooh.
many cases, right, if
Wow.
you are a leader and you are saying the things that you do, right? I'm emotionally intelligent. I'm very self-aware of my team. I know what my
Mhm.
team needs. I know what the problem is. If you're saying that, but the actions or behaviors are not supporting that, it's probably not happening, right? And you're probably
Right.
not as that thing as you think you are. What do you
Right.
say about that?
I mean, how can you make accountability for, let's say you have a team of 20. How can you make an accountability for 20 people who have different emotions, right? These are different human beings that you've never talked to. And you can say, I know what my team wants. I know how my team feels. I know what my team needs. But you never spoke to anybody. Doesn't even make any sense, professionally or personally, at all. At all. And I can
Yeah.
almost guarantee you, to my sad regret, your team is probably saying things about you that are not really pleasant.
Probably. So, like we did
Just,
in episode
FYI.
it's true. As we did in episode 1, I wanna give you an a opportunity to share with folks doing in the being. If they were to fast forward to the end and just
Mhm.
get this, right, what would be their takeaway to be able to really get to performance?
There is no being without doing. There is no doing without being. Now, what I mean is being sure of who you are, being in touch emotionally with what your emotions are trying to tell you from a day to day basis, being able to master your emotions to where you can function at your highest level of performance in your personal life, your professional life, with your team as a leader, all of that stuff. And then once you're aware of these particular things and how to do this, now the doing is where most people focus on. Now you can focus on the doing. But before you focus
Mm,
on the doing, you got to focus on all this other stuff. Because if you don't have these indicators in place and understand what you're looking for, you can't really do those things to the best of your ability and have the greatest level of impact, not only on yourself, but your family and your team. And that's what I would leave everybody with.
thank you so much for joining us here. Can you remind everybody how to
I
find you?
Meiyoko Taylor on all social platforms. I'll spell it out for you. Meiyoko Taylor. www.miyokotaylor.com. That is under construction right now because I got a lot of projects and a lot of things going on. But yeah, that's how you can find me. And like I said on the last episode, shoot me a DM, send me a comment. I'll respond, I'll reply. It's not going to be a bot or anything like that. I literally actually reply to you. So you will be talking to me. Would love to talk to you, answer any questions that you have. And I thank this lovely lady for having me on.
Thank you very much. And guys, we have a new community on LinkedIn. It's called
Oh
EQ
yeah, how can we
Unlocked.
not mention that?
We partnered on this. I thought you was gonna do it. I was trying to give you a chance, but when you didn't, then I said, EQ Unlocked is a really dope community. It's building right now, but it's so powerful. Join
Yes.
us in that community so that it's just constant practice in this. And just like Miyoko and I are able to sharpen each other's craft, that's what this community is for us to
Right.
get better at all of this together, right? So please join us. I'll make sure that the link is in the description so you can click it and join us there.
Yes, let's see you
Until
in
next
there.
time, see you
All right.
there. Bye.